I can't tell you how many Friday afternoons I spent on the phone because this manufacturer said it was the other manufacturer's fault. So you'd call that manufacturer and they'd say, no, it's this manufacturer. It was a round robin. It was quite frustrating.
Why did you even rope me into this? Because he roped me into this. Well, him over there, he roped me into this. Well, he roped me into this. Well, what about me? He roped me into this. Well, that one over there roped me into this. Well, he roped me into this.
Record-breaking LED walls making your voices heard from manufacturer collaboration. And what happens when the government says you can't use that tech? All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 683, recorded Friday, September 20th, 2024. The Experience Economy. This is AV Week, the weekly wrap-up of the biggest news and information we have gathered. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week, Kelly Teal, AV industry icon extraordinaire. How are you, ma'am?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, as always.
Absolutely. Also with us is the only person on this call who's in the same time zone as me. That's Samantha Potter from Allen and Heath. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for having me. Oh, good to be back. Good to be back and seeing some friendly faces here as well.
Absolutely. One of those friendly faces is a man who finally returned my phone call. His name is Frank Patakala. He's from Odd Nate. Welcome, sir.
Hey, how's it going? Nice to be back. And I have you on speed dial now. So,
I appreciate that.
And I have a different ringtone, and I've prioritized it. And my kids know about it. I will never miss your calls again, okay?
It's the Imperial March, in case anybody's wondering. It's what plays when Darth Vader shows up on screen. That's what plays. We are going to pick Frank's brain here at the end of the show. He just got back from Infocom India, and I do want to get kind of a lowdown on that from his perspective on that. But first, in a high-stakes legal battle that could determine the future of one of America's most popular social media platform, TikTok faced off against a panel of judges this week in U.S. federal court. The app used by 170 million Americans is fighting against a law that would force its Chinese parent company, ByteDance, to divest or face a ban in the U.S. by January 19th. We're recording this September 20th, so there's a little bit of pressure here. TikTok argues the law infringes on free speech, while the government contends it's a necessary national security measure. The judges appeared very skeptical of TikTok's argument about the First Amendment argument, focusing on Congress's authority and the potential risk posed by foreign ownership. With the deadline looming, the outcome of this case could have far-reaching implications for social media, free speech, and U.S.-China relations. In the AV side here, and this is where I'm pulling this into, guys, the government has banned official government use from companies like Huawei, good Lord, 5 years ago now. So this is not unusual. The question, though, and Kelly, we'll start with you on this, what authority should the U.S. government have, or any government for that matter, have over the tech that we are able to use?
So as an AV professional, I'm going to start with what I think the pros are just from a technology standpoint and as somebody who implements these types of systems. So I understand consumer protection is a huge pro in that. I mean, government regulations have been around forever, and it protects consumers from harmful or defective or deceitful products.
Okay.
So that safety and that reliability and that privacy and security, those regulations can enforce the data privacy that we all are concerned about. I mean, I'm concerned about it. I've gotten several letters this year about data breaches. That's the cybersecurity standards will be in place. Governments can set those ethical guidelines for those emerging technologies like AI, where somebody can quite literally steal your face at this point and use it for an advertisement without your permission. Which provides, government interference, as I'll call it, provides some kind of market stability. And it regulates those monopolies and also can prevent market abuse. Now, on the other side, as someone who uses these apps and as a consumer, I believe there's a few different cons, aside from overreach and, of course, freedom of speech, which is up for debate. As I scroll through TikTok, there's many things that I hear and learn that I didn't know otherwise. Would I ever have heard or known about it? But then some of these things can also be rumors or half truths, and then you go down a rabbit hole. And as someone like me who has severe anxiety, I could go down a rabbit hole very easily. Funny enough, right after having my first child, all of a sudden I see all these scary videos about children and what could happen. I mean, so the cons are also in the sense that there's some innovation stifling as well. So excessive regulation can also hinder that innovation, that by creating those barriers to increasing compliance costs for companies, the bureaucratic delays, and then just the overreach again is I think the biggest con of all, because there is that risk of government overreach, which we've seen this time and time again, where regulations become too intrusive and they implement and enforce regulations, which can not only be costly, but then also potentially lead to higher taxes or reduce government spending in other areas. And so this subject is a rabbit hole I could go down. But I think overreach is the biggest con. So I'm kind of on the fence. I mean, I think there's good and bad to them being involved in our technology, such as TikTok and other things. And do they have a right to have a say in how it's used and how much they can show? Yes and no. I think it depends on the topic and what's being shown and how people are perceiving what they're trying to do.
All right, Samantha, you and Frank both are sitting here nodding your head, so I'm going to let you just kind of go off on and continue that.
Because I do so much traveling these days, I have become quite familiar with how other countries tend to do their business or worry about privacy, and it seems like. And of course, I'm not versed in every country's everything, but a lot of the big players seemingly have more oversight than we do. And I'm not so much concerned with TikTok specifically, although I am on there and I do enjoy. I've built that For You page brick by brick, but I'm way more concerned about general privacy, just data and how everything's becoming. Every number that we have used over the last 50 years to rate ourselves as consumers and borrowers of money has completely disintegrated in the last 9 months. And so I'm more concerned about, to Frank's point, regardless of where the company is housed or built from, it feels like they're an easy target. It's China bad kind of deal, but it's really it's a symptom of a much deeper problem that's happening. That's what I'm kind of more concerned about. Will I be bummed if TikTok goes away? Yeah, sure, whatever, but I'll get over it. I think if we can split the difference between the way that I was just in Dubai, so seeing how they handle things is way more they know everything that's going on, or the EU has a bunch of privacy laws that and consumer protection laws that go far beyond what we're doing here in the US. But to the opposite end of that, we're quite free to do whatever we feel like here for the most part. So I feel like we could split the difference between these places. But until everybody decides to, the global internet isn't going to be any safer unless we're all on the same page, which we're not.
No, we're not, actually. And I mentioned the fact that Frank just got back from Infocom India. That is one country that has already banned TikTok and has for years. Right. So it is not the United States is the only one doing this. To Samantha's point, there are several others, and I'm pick on TikTok because that's the story we're using, but there are others that, like Samantha said, has different levels of data privacy. All right. Our next topic comes actually from two different stories in AV Magazine. They have the world's largest temporary outdoor LED wall. This was put up for Adele's residency in the Munich Messe in Germany. It is it is also not only the largest outdoor LED wall, it is also the home of the largest hanging bracket ever built. Has to support 250 tons of equipment. Second story is PPDS completing a record-breaking quote-unquote installation at Oracle Red Bull Racing Global Headquarters. It features Europe's largest indoor direct view LED wall in an event venue. Both projects faced unique challenges, from Adele's accelerated 3-month timeline to Red Bull Racing's need for quote-unquote cutting-edge technology befitting their brand, which if you know anything about Red Bull Racing, they are pretty cutting edge. These installations spanning entertainment and sports showcase the evolving landscape of immersive experiences and the push for ever more impressive visual spectacles. Frank, I'm going to start with you on this. It feels like the last 12 months has been the year of the DirectView LED.
Yes.
We're recording this the end of September. It has been 1 year almost to the date since the Sphere opened up with U2 and the whole, and it has been a fantastic year from that for them from an event standpoint and a popularity and a publicity standpoint. We can disagree and go down the rabbit hole of their financials, but from a technology standpoint, it's been a pretty remarkable year for them. And just these two stories kind of highlight the overarching impact that DirectView LED is having now on the entertainment and the sports world. Why is that today? Why is that suddenly like 2024, 2025 has been or 2023, 2024 has been the year of the DirectView LED?
So I have my theory on this, right? And being close to not just the AV side of things, also being on the broadcast side and just looking at overall what media in general is experiencing across the globe. I think the pandemic was an interesting period, right? I like to go back to that because that's when it essentially paused live events, right? So there's no live events happening, nothing happened. And so we had an entire group of people who wanted to be entertained, and organizations decided, all right, we're going to entertain you in your homes now, brought in quality services, had very accessible, easily priced mechanisms. And so they started experiencing things. And then finally, when things opened up, the question was like, what incentivizes me to go back to this, right? This terrible stadium with like, the worst hot dog on the planet and, warm beer and whatever. It's like, why would I go back to this, right? So I think technology was seen as the solution. So if you look at it, you're absolutely right. Even before the Sphere, if you look at all the events all the sporting events, all the touring and musical events that have happened over the last year, they are truly technology spectacles. I think the biggest incentive is to make sure that the in-person experience is much better than what you have at home. And so there's the other part of the technology envelope in terms of AI and virtual reality and augmented reality, which is again creeping into the same area, right? So every single broadcaster and technology platform out there is not only trying to build on their existing demographic, but they're also looking for a new demographic. Overall, it's a great phase for technology, but to your point, only time will tell how many of these are feasible and viable from a financial perspective. So it's going to be an interesting phase. But technology-wise, it's stunning. The last 12 months, 2 years have been amazing globally, across the board.
Samantha, it seems similar kind of question. How do stories like this and events like this and installations like this, how does it help us tell the AV story overall?
I think it's, before we started recording, I had mentioned like the AVIXA report, so I'm going to bring it up again. In that this whole idea of like an experience economy, I think the more that pro AV sort of bridges the divide between like live events, specifically live productions, and commercial like corporate AV, the more that we acknowledge that we have stuff in common, the more fun, I think the more fun everything's going to end up being. It's easy. Sometimes it's fun. Like, right, especially I've noticed in like commercial AV world, we feel like we're in a really cool little club. But also, so does like live sound. Like folks on tour, they are their own breed of people, and they, like birds of a feather. And they just continue to get closer and closer and closer together. And so, the question is, how does this, affect the market, or how does this help us overall by publishing these stories? It's more of just an acknowledgement, like, hey, here's the elephant in the room. You can have both. Like installations doesn't have to be a boardroom. A live production doesn't have to be like a grungy dirt tour where mud's getting everywhere kind of deal. There's so much in between. And I learn that every month in my position with Alan and Heath. Is like somebody brings up some new project and I'm like, I had literally never considered that they needed this, but now that you say it, okay, I get it. Like going back to like the Formula One story as well, they have needs at every race. They have needs. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, of course they would use Dante. Of course they need these things. Of course they do that. Like, oh, right, totally. So yeah, hope that's a clear answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And Frank, did you hear that? Formula One needs Dante, so you might want to get on that. Kelly, same kind of question. How does stuff like this, and Samantha and Frank both hit on it, how does the experiences of these, how do they help you tell stories to your clients?
Well, when it comes to a client, so we're looking at it kind of on the other side of things. So um, aside from technological advancements, so we always point out, the good things about how, the latest micro LED technologies significantly improve their quality and affordability. We also talk a lot about the versatility that video walls are being used in a variety of settings and ways, from home theaters to commercial spaces now. And now they have more customizable sizing and configuration, customizable sizing and configuration, and then, just the overall enhanced viewing experience. With like the high brightness, wide color gamut, and the seamless integration, those are all great things. But in terms of what we were also discussing, and why this is expected, or why this is the year of the video wall, and why there's a growth of just digital signage in general and video walls, is I think that creative communication is what everyone's looking for, in the sense that people in general, not just clients, are looking for creative ways to communicate. And I think this is all, we're also seeing an increased demand for content as a service. So I think that there's a lot of opportunities for that through video walls and digital signage. And I think those are becoming an important part of the customer experience. And I think that's specifically what's driving this year of the video wall. And I think they're being used in a variety of settings and ways. And we're seeing a lot of them, in corporate lobbies and museums and hotels and resorts, casinos, transportation hubs. So it's purely the consumer who is driving this. And I think, with that, considering that it's mostly client-based, I would say needs, wants, and needs, I think that there's several technological advancements that are going to continue happening. Now, whether that is something that the video wall just continue to improve, or whether it kind of fizzles out, I think it will highly depend on how things go in the next, I would say, 4 years. Are they going to make strides or continue making strides? Are they going to drive down costs? Are they going to continue driving down costs? Are they going to make these a more viable option for consumers and businesses? So I think those are also points that we need to consider when we say, how long is this going to be a trend? But I just think that there's also a sustainability aspect in all of this. I mean, there's a need for sustainability in this world, not just digital signage and video walls. So I think there's also, if we were to go off topic, there's also a sustainability aspect of this. And I just think that this is just purely customer, client, consumer driven right now.
So I will give you one word. Well, it's an acronym that covers both the sustainability part and the increased experiential technology, and that's OLED. Now, I am a big fan of OLED. I make no bones about this. I freaking love OLED. I have for 20 years. But the fact that you can bend the bend radius on this, you can wrap this around a pole, right? I mean, you can do some pretty wicked things. Prices have gone down. Now, granted, I was just at CEDIA 2 weeks ago, so that's probably still in my brain. But also on the sustainability side, the power consumption on OLED versus that of a direct view LED is drastically less than a DV LED. The power consumption overall. So those two aspects just makes me smile, because that means OLED is coming into its own. All right, I'll get off my soapbox now. The last story comes to us from AVNation. Sennheiser has released a new QSYS control plugin for its Team Connect ceiling medium, TCCM is the product number, microphone, seamlessly connecting with the QSYS ecosystem to quote unquote revolutionize audio management in mid-size meeting spaces. This certified plugin, developed in close collaboration with QSYS, offers direct control over various microphone functions, expanding Sennheiser's suite of QSYS compatible solutions. Charlie Jones, who's just a wonderful human being, he is Sennheiser's Global Alliance and Partnership Manager. He emphasized the plugin's role in streamlining the integration of Sennheiser microphones with QSYS's cloud manageable platform. This integration marks a significant step forward in enhancing audio quality and management for hybrid in-person meetings, underlying Sennheiser's commitment to shaping the future of professional audio solutions. Samantha, I'm going to start with you because you and Mr. Palicala are, our resident manufacturers on this particular program. What do you guys expect when you go into a collaboration like this? When Samantha again works for Allen and Heath. When you guys go into meetings like this, what are your expectations when you go in and go, okay, we're going to work together for the ultimate customer here? What is as a manufacturer, your expectations going in?
Just kind of a bit of a friendliness of an understanding, like we could turn this into some kind of competitive landscape, but it's really just like, hey, on good faith, like let's do a gear swap. That's what I often do with other manufacturers. Like I'll send you some stuff, you send me some stuff, and we'll play around, break things, and then come back together. And that gives us a lot. Like it's a lot less enjoyable and fun and good for us as a company if we try to reach out and they're either like hard to communicate with or they're sort of unwilling to give and take. That makes it difficult. I prefer like just shouting at one in particular, Visionary Solutions. They've been really good. They've been great. Just very buddies. Like we always see each other at the shows. We do the gear swap, and whenever I have feedback, whenever they have feedback, always welcome. I always want like, yeah, tell me everything that you hated about it so that we can improve it. We can do better. What are your clients looking for, and how can we help you win more of that? It's not about I'm going to try to take stuff from you, and that can't happen. Otherwise, nobody would work together. It becomes less of an integration market and more of like a who can come out with the most stuff, no matter what the quality is, like kind of market. And that's not enjoyable. So that's how we kind of look at it.
Kelly, same kind of question, only from the other side is what do you as a consultant and somebody who has, direct contact with the clients, what do you guys expect when manufacturers get together and have an ultimate partnership or collaboration?
We expect clear objectives and goals. So we expect there's going to be a shared vision, that both parties are going to come into the meeting with a clear understanding of what the purpose of the collaboration is, whether it's product development, joint ventures, market expansion. And what we ultimately want that to lead to is the technical alignment to ensure both manufacturers are aligned on, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to achieve. Well, that's interoperability, or if it's integrations, or if it's how the respective technologies will work together even. And then what we want that to turn into essentially is innovation and integration. We want those collaborative efforts to often lead, and most times it does, to the development of more innovative and integrated solutions, because that's what all of our clients are looking for. Sometimes that creates kind of a standardization too. So the collaboration can sometimes lead to establishment of an industry standard, which is a great thing. And I think that's also easier for us to, for different systems and devices to communicate with each other, which is always a great thing as well. And we essentially also want that to lead to some cost efficiency for our clients. Joint ventures can reduce research and development costs as well. And I know I've never worked for a manufacturer, but I can understand that part of it. And we also want that to be passed on to the consumers in the form of affordable product and solutions. And then, of course, the biggest thing I would say as a consumer myself is enhanced support and service. We want, with those combined resources, that should then result in offering a better customer support and after sales service, ensuring that clients will receive that comprehensive assistance. A lot of times I see collaborative efforts, and not just in the AV world, but it doesn't turn out to, it's great. The cost efficiency aspect is there, but the customer support and service is just not there. And that's very, very, very important for our clients.
Yeah, I like that point a lot, Kelly, because we've done like calls before with clients who are using like some HM and Allen Heath like a processor and like some Sennheiser mics or something of that nature, and we'll both end up getting on the call with the customer like, okay, something weird's happening, like let's talk about what's going on. And then you have so many more brains, so many other perspectives, so many other years of experience where suddenly like we can give them the best support possible, that perhaps, multiple heads are always better than one. And so I love that point a lot, in that fosters the community, not only for the product development side, but for the, post sales, the support side as well. Everybody ends up winning.
So, Samantha, really quickly, and I'm just going to say this as a former end user, that's unusual because I can't tell you how many Friday afternoons I spent on the phone because this manufacturer said it was the other manufacturer's fault. So you'd call that manufacturer and they'd say, no, it's this manufacturer. It was a round robin. It was quite frustrating. So that's
Yeah.
very heartening to hear you say that.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in that kind of conversation as well, but it's usually, I try not to let that be from us. I'm just like, hey, like, let us know if, when you're available and we'll hop on a call. That's cool. We're fine with it from our side. But to your point, the other side has to also be willing to hop on a call. If they don't want to
100%.
take responsibility for anything, then it's like, all right, well, I'll do my best.
Frank, a little bit slightly different question from a manufacturer standpoint. Talk to the IT manager at a Fortune 500 company. Talk to the AV tech manager at a college. How do they let you know? They let Samantha know collaborations they'd like to see happen.
Well, so it's a very interesting conversation, and I love how we've gone through LEDs and sustainability, and then we finally landed on a partnership between two manufacturers. This is a great conversation thread, but I want to take this opportunity, and before I'll get to your question, but I want to give a shout out, and essentially, like, I want to call out our integration partners, like AV integration companies. Y'all need to get the memo that AV is going towards software. So if you think one company announced their partnership, there's going to be hundreds of companies doing the same thing because a software partnership is much more easier. Like Samantha talked about swapping gear. Now you don't have to swap gear. You just send code and it's an email or it's a GitHub repository. So the ability to make products work with each other is going to become a thing. And I think it's about understanding that things are different. It's open. There's no wall gardens. And that leads to your question. From an IT manager's perspective, AV is always seen as one of the assets on it, right? If they're trying to incorporate AV into it, they'd like to see AV as an asset, and AV needs to be managed like an asset. So we have to understand that the scope of our AV project is no more, hey, I just want to get clear audio and good video. I want to make sure this conference room experience is good. It's about sustainability. It's about using the room. It's about utilization. There are finance companies involved. It's an interesting conversation we had like a couple of months ago at the PSNI event, and we talked literally about interoperability and how manufacturers are working with each other. I think we all agreed that every manufacturer is trying to work with whoever wants to work with them, right? At the same time, I don't see the same level of advancements happening on the integration / the end user side, because again, it would mean redefining some internal processes to incorporate all these technology things. We all know engineers love copy paste. Programmers love to copy paste. That's how AV works. So this would mean essentially changing that cycle. So it's an interesting place we're at, but I think we need to understand that AV fundamentally is different from where it was probably a decade ago or even more. We are one of the strong technologies that are going to go into almost any space. So IT managers are going to have a bigger say in AV, and they're not concerned about the quality of the video. So you can go and tell them 15 times that this is 4K 60, and they're going to be like, I don't care. Can I monitor this thing, right? Can I get information when the room is down? Can you tell me if the microphone isn't working? That's what concerns them. So every manufacturer is building out the API interfaces to create those hooks. Somebody needs to implement them. So I feel like integration is going to change for the better, at least in my opinion.
All right. That'll be a good place to stop. Thank you all so much. Kelly Teal, thank you, ma'am. How do people connect with you?
I am on LinkedIn and only LinkedIn.
All right. Nothing wrong with that. I like LinkedIn. So check her out. Samantha Potter, thank you. How do people connect with you or Alan and Heath?
You can connect with me on, if I'm on a platform, it's at Potter Audio, pretty much across the board. LinkedIn's a big one. Instagram's a lot of fun for me. I'm on there, but I'm in other corners of the internet as well. And you can always find Alan and Heath across the same platforms and at alan-heath.com.
All right. Very good. Mr. Padikala, thank you so much for your time, sir. Before you tell us where to find you or Audinate, tell us about your experience at Infocom India.
Oh, it's amazing. It was so great. For next year, I'm planning on organizing like a tour party so we can take a group of people here just to see it. It's an emerging market. Avixa rates it as the fastest growing market, and I think it's going to be the fastest growing market for the next few years. it's beautiful. It's vibrant. All the manufacturers are there. There's a lot of education happening. There's a lot of excitement that I felt as I went there, because you see every spectrum of it, right? You'll see people trying to learn and understand the market and learn from established companies. So all the integration companies have their offices there. Manufacturers are there. So overall, it's a lot of fun. And I will say this, right? I attended a few volunteer council events, and it was stunning to see the power of something that we take a CTS, and a CTS certification is great. But if you don't get a CTS certification, it's definitely not, the end of the world. But in those parts, I heard stories of people whose lives were changed dramatically, like changed. They got job offers. Their finances were different, all because of a CTS certification. So, it left me with a lot of, we take a lot of things for granted. So I guess my message about Infocom India is that there are countries out there that are booming. There's a lot of AV happening outside of the US. So expanding our horizons it's a great thing for companies, individuals, overall across the board. So that's Infocom India. And to reach me, Frank Patakala across the board on most of the socials. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so if you reach me there, I'll probably respond faster.
All right, very good. For Tim Albright, don't follow me anywhere. It's not very interesting. And at this point in the year, I'm talking about the Chicago Bears. If you want to and need to connect with me, the best place is honestly LinkedIn. But yeah, don't. Go by the website, AVNation.tv. It's AVNation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others. Two brand new podcasts this week. Mitchell has been working crazy hours to get these out. First, a brand new EdTech just landed today, and also our brand new podcast, AV Career Mastermind with Jen Weaver, looking at the industry and how to get a job in the industry, either if you're looking for your next adventure or you're simply curious about your next adventure. Check both of those out. I am going back out on the road. I mentioned the fact that I just got back from CEDIA, and I am heading back in October. I will be in Chattanooga, Tennessee for Church Facilities Expo, October 22nd. You can check that out at churchfacilitiesexpo.com. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to listen to these fine folks, you can go subscribe to AVWeek, the podcast, wherever you get your podcast. And if you're listening and you'd like to see Frank and his fantastic 1980s school picture laser background, you can go check them out on video on YouTube. So yeah, it really is nice, Frank. I appreciate the effort there. All that and more. But first, go by the website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.